When we think, we generally use concepts that we have not invented ourselves, but that reflect the shared understandings of our community. We tend not to question views when they reflect an outlook on the world that is shared by everyone around us. An important example for development pertains to how people view the need to provide cognitive stimulation to children. In many societies, parents take for granted that their role is to love their children and keep them safe and healthy, but they do not view young children as needing extensive cognitive and linguistic stimulation. This view is an example of a mental model. Footnote 1. In some societies, there are even norms against verbal engagement between parents and young children. See Chapter 5. This particular mental model can have huge consequences, even leading to the intergenerational transmission of poverty. Mental models include categories, concepts, identities, prototypes, stereotypes, causal narratives, and worldviews. Footnote 2. Without mental models of the world, it would be impossible for people to make most decisions in daily life. And without shared mental models, it would be impossible in many cases for people to develop institutions, solve collective action problems, feel a sense of belonging and solidarity, or even understand one another. Although mental models are often shared and arise in part from human sociality, Chapter 2, they differ from social norms, which were discussed in the preceding chapter. Mental models, which need not be enforced by direct social pressure, often capture broad ideas about how the world works and one's place in it. In contrast, social norms tend to focus on particular behaviors and to be socially enforced. There is immense variation in mental models across societies, including different perceptions of the way the world works. Individuals can adapt their mental models, updating them when they learn that outcomes are inconsistent with expectations. But this chapter will explain that individuals may hold on to mental models that have destructive consequences for their lives and may continue to use them to validate their interpretations, even when those models and interpretations are patently false. Individuals can also hold on to multiple and sometimes even contradictory mental models, drawing on one or another mental model when the context triggers a particular way of looking at the world. Mental models matter for development because they affect decision-making. Since a great deal of policy is based on changing people's decisions to save and invest, to enroll children in school, to be active citizens, to be honest, understanding the role that mental models play in individual decision-making opens up the possibility of new levers for policy, while at the same time highlighting potential problems in design and implementation. Development interventions can go wrong when policy designers have a faulty mental model of how a population will react to a program. This chapter highlights recent progress in understanding the role that mental models play in economic development and the implications for policy. The first part of the chapter outlines some of the main ways that mental models affect decisions associated with development. Mental models bear on the evolution of institutions and on firm behavior and cognitive performance. The chapter explains how mental models, which may once have been well adapted to the situation at hand, or may once have reflected the distribution of political power, can persist even when they are no longer adaptive, or when the political forces that gave rise to them have changed. The chapter then discusses implications for policy. Institutions and mental models are closely related. Sometimes a change in a mental model requires a change in an institution. But in some cases, exposure to alternative ways of thinking and to new role models, in real life, in fiction, and through public deliberation, can have a measurable influence on mental models and on behaviors, such as investment and education.